Hello, everybody, and welcome to MMA Jefe. Today we are here with another special guest, Sebastian Vendel Martinez, ladies and gentlemen. He's a commentator, he's a MC for MMA promotions all around Europe, and in my opinion, he's one of the best. So, Sebastian, welcome to the show, man. Happy you could be here. We got a lot to talk about, to be honest, because we kind of do. We're in the same realm, you know, but not as well because you do a lot of commentating. I haven't done that yet. You do MCing for big promotions here in the north as well as in other places here in Europe.
Yeah, France too, yeah.
Yeah, France. Can you take us back to the moment that you kind of figure out this is what you wanted to do? How did you get started with this?
Oh man, I didn't know this was what I wanted to do, and it's like I didn't really realize that I was properly working with it until I just took a massive risk, basically. Okay. I mean, I've been a big fan of MMA and martial arts for a long time.
Yeah.
And I've always been pretty good with like writing and, you know, like public speaking. Like whenever we would have like a verbal presentation in class, like I would always do better at that because I could kind of like disguise what I hadn't read in the book with a little bit of charm and a joke here and there. And, you know, like a leading remark that hopefully my teacher would fill in with the answer. So I'd always been pretty good at that. And a good friend of mine, Donnie Kumar, he was in Los Angeles working with MMA Nytt, which is one of Sweden's biggest MMA sites. He was a videographer for one of our reporters, and I also have ties to Los Angeles. I'm actually born there. My dad's Swedish, my mom's Mexican American.
Oh, really?
From the US. Yeah, so
which
explains the accent and why my English is better than most Swedes. So,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and aren't we all glad for that? Can you imagine my commentary otherwise? Yikes. But so yeah, I was in Los Angeles visiting family, and then Donnie connected me, and that really, and he helped me learn a lot about like camera stuff as well. And then when I got back to Sweden, they basically gave me a shot to start writing. And then my other friend Reza Hosseini, who taught me like everything I know about like video editing and stuff like that, and was also kind of like my first director. Like, we know, don't watch my first interviews because they're fucking terrible.
Mine
he would direct me at least. He'd be like, try to do a little bit more so and so, and it's like. So, you know, I just kind of got thrown into it. And then one day with MMA, I mostly just been writing articles. Their reporter, he couldn't make it to, I forget what the number was, but it was UFC on London, Henan Barao versus Michael McDonald, and then Cub Swanson versus Dustin Poirier at the co-main event.
Oh, yeah.
And they needed somebody to report there, and I took the risk. I was nervous as all hell. You know, like I think the first person I interviewed was like Luke Barnett or maybe Mike Brown or something like that.
Okay, so you got thrown into it
deep end right away. But a couple of hours later, I'm sitting in a room, and who walks in? Michael Bisping. I'm like, oh shit, I'm interviewing Michael Bisping.
You're in the mix now.
Yeah, so
that's why.
Then it was just kind of like keep on doing it, but I had to do it parallel to like a normal job for many years. You know, I'd be sitting taking customer service calls while simultaneously writing articles and, you know, stuff like that. And if somebody was being a douchebag, then I'd put them on hold and just, you know, write the articles. And like, oh, sorry, my boss isn't here right now. My supervisor isn't here. Can I take a message? I'm not taking that message. You can fuck off and call right back if you're being so rude. But, you know, so that's how I managed it. And then eventually I was working, I had a pretty good job. Like I was working finance in the asylum section for like the southern Sweden's like hospital system. So I was like doing these big invoices and stuff. It was very safe. It was very secure. I was making pretty good money, but I couldn't stand it. I mean, I had Excel sheets open every single day, and it's not my jam.
No.
So then, you know, talking a little bit to MMA Nytt and going forward, I just, you know, went all in on combat sports. And it was real rocky early on. It was really rocky. It was tough to make things come around, but eventually, the longer I worked with it, the more contacts I got, the more jobs I got. I started doing much more commentating. And then that just opened up the doors. And it's still kind of surreal to be in it because it's like this is my job. Like,
I could imagine, man. I could imagine. I mean, it kind of feels like two different lives, right? That you lived, I bet, from when you got into this MMA business, right? I mean, that's how I feel, at least.
Oh, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
I'd leave my office job on a Friday and then go to like London, do a Cage Warriors event where I'm interviewing Jack Mason, who's spitting blood all over me,
Yeah.
and then go back to the office on Monday and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "Oh, how was your weekend?" I was like,
Yeah.
a British guy spit blood all over me."
I know the feeling actually because
Yeah, you've
yeah,
also been in the soak zone.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, it
Badge
takes
of honor, man. That's how you know you're a real one. That's how we know that you're in the trenches
yeah,
doing the tough interviews. You're not waiting for them to get cleaned up.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, my first interviews as well. It's not too long ago when I look back at them and comparing to where I am now, it's such a big difference. And yeah,
Mm.
it's just it's funny how things pan out, you know. That's another thing you started working with. That's Marco Madsen, right? How does that dynamic work? Is it good?
Me and Mark get along well. We've known each other for many years.
Mm.
Like I remember I was doing interviews with like back in the day when like my coworkers they were telling me like stop writing about Danish MMA. Nobody cares about, Danish MMA night or so and so. You can write about Penny because she's Swedish, but I was like, no, come on, we got to focus on the. I'm telling you, like Danish MMA is going somewhere,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, I
Mm.
predict these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I when I heard that Dominance was starting up, I know how passionate and like well connected and
Mm.
just thorough Marco Madsen is.
Yeah.
So I just basically you know decided to shoot my shot. I sent
Yeah.
him a message. I mean, we'd been in contact before for interviews and stuff like that.
Mm.
Told him that I was interested in working, and he gave me a shot as MC at Dominance One, which I thought went pretty well. But then he decided to go in
Most
a bit of a
definitely.
different direction with the next one, which is fine because I prefer commentary over MCing. If I have to choose just one, I'd
Yeah.
rather do commentary. And yeah, I think the commentary's been going great. With Patrick and Nikolai.
For sure. For sure.
And yeah, it's
Great
just really
guys.
enjoyable.
Yeah. Great guys. What do you kind of feel like the difference is for you to commentate an MC? Is it just that it's way more intense being up there on stage actually?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it might not seem like it, but I get super nervous,
Yeah.
and a lot of like those people who have worked with me often, you can usually tell a difference in my demeanor. Like
Mm.
when I'm emceeing, I'm a bit more withdrawn before because I'm kind of like
Yeah,
charging my
in yourself.
batteries. Yeah,
Yeah.
I tend to be a bit more. I'm listening to like the most intense fucking death metal you can imagine. Just get me in like that fucking hyped up mood,
Yeah.
stuff that sounds like it's coming straight out of Satan's asshole.
Yeah.
It just and then saying hi to people, being polite, but not talking as much. But
Mm.
when I'm MC, it's like, or when I'm commentating, it's like, oh, whatever,
Yeah.
I'm just in a very different mood, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And I believe actually that commentating is the place where you shine the most.
Thank you.
I think you're
I,
really,
I,
really
I
good at
agree.
it. You agree, yeah. How have you seen kind of the Nordic MMA scene, evolve over the past decade? Because you've been in it, for, yeah, basically almost that long time.
Yeah, man, these Gen Z fighters coming up. I mean, I'm such a
Yeah.
dinosaur compared to them. They're like, oh, there was a time when there wasn't a UFC event every weekend. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, man, we used to have to wait once a month, once every other month on
Yeah.
TV4 Plus or something. Uh, but the development has been amazing. I mean, I got into this like a little over 10 years ago.
Mm.
There were a lot of, I mean, there were still promotions, but they weren't at all on the level where they are now. Then many promotions have, shut down since.
Yeah.
Cage has been one of the, in Finland has been one of
Yeah.
the bigger ones that has really held a stable quality. But what we've seen is like a change in scope and also a willingness to be less, how do you say, like less favorizing your own fighters. Like, back in the
Mm.
day, let's be honest about it. A lot of the times at the Nordic shows, it was about getting over fighters who the local fighters could beat comfortably,
Yeah.
padding those records, and then trying to get those fighters, those Nordic fighters, to the UFC or to the
Yeah.
Cage Warriors, something like that. Now I feel like we're seeing a much more sustainable at the end point product where
Okay.
it's like, solid competition
Yeah.
where even if the home fighter, the Nordic fighter wins, we're getting tested, we're getting the experience that you
Yeah.
need in the big leagues,
Yeah.
and also just the level of production. Everyone's shooting for the stars now. It's
Yeah.
before it was like everyone was a little too humble for their own good.
Yeah.
Humility is great, but not if it stops you from developing. And I feel like most of the Nordic promotions have really stepped up.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be the biggest, wants to be the best. They're trying to do as much as possible. And I feel like, just look at the quality of Nordic MMA. I mean, you got Dominance. Sweden has a bunch of good promotions.
Yeah.
Finland is doing a great job with Cage, and now Ice Cage with 8,000 people over in Helsinki. That's an insane.
Yeah.
That's like record numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're seeing fantastic stuff, and
What's
I can't
it
wait
called
for where
again?
it's
Do you
going.
say Ice Cage?
Ice Cage, yeah.
Okay. Well, does it have anything to do with fighting on ice, or is it just?
I wish it did. That'd be hilarious. But no, it's just called Ice Cage. It's
Okay.
I mean, their promoter is a very like young, energetic guy who I mean, at first I was a little skeptical at the sort of TikTok approach to marketing.
Yeah.
Clearly it's working.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they're getting Makwan Americani, so Olli Santalatti. You're getting all the big, finished names, and
Okay.
then perhaps it did help that they did have a bit of an influencer fight where with a convicted cannibal who got released from prison against a hated influencer who's like the least liked
Okay.
influencer in Finland.
What the
I'm
fuck?
sure that sold a couple tickets too.
Yeah. That's for sure gonna pull in crowds,
Spoiler alert, it ends in 10 seconds.
Oh, it did. Okay.
Yeah, so you can watch it. You can watch the highlights real quick.
Yeah, okay. I will do that probably. As a commentator, what's your prep like before a fight? Any rituals or key focuses you kind of have going into a commentator?
In the beginning, I did have to kind of like psych myself up a little bit. Now it comes a lot more smoothly.
Okay.
I do, however, when I'm emceeing, I do have a ritual where it's a line from Dune, the book and the movie, where it's I must not fear. Fear is a mind killer. The little death it brings total obliteration. I will face my fear, allow it to pass over me and through me. And when the fear has passed, I will turn my inner eye to follow its path. Where the fear once was, there is now nothing. Only I will remain.
Okay.
And that's something that just face with fear, embrace it, take the energy, because at the end the fear will be gone and I'll be there. So that gives me that energy. But for commentary, it's just lots of research, lots and lots and lots of research. And if you ask my fiance, I'm sure way too much research, because sometimes you'll have a fighter where it's like, okay, it's an amateur fighter with an 0-1 record.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot to go on, but I'll try looking up like, okay, well, his nickname is Piranha. What are some facts about piranhas?
Yeah.
What's some or he's from so and so city. He's from Odense. All right, Odense used to have the second highest building in Europe after the Eiffel Tower, but then it was destroyed by Nazis. And it's like, all right, at least I can get something going, something to fill those gaps. Sure, it should fall naturally in some way, but just trying to find as much information as I can. If I can't find it in fighting terms, and at least trying to paint the picture of who this fighter is, where he or she comes from, what makes her fighting identity. Is their city known for something special? Do they come from a city where another famous fighter has come from? If they're from a kind of Uruguay, don't know so much about that, but a very famous boxer came from Uruguay. Just always trying to find something interesting for the viewers, because at the end of the day, my job is to have basically being the soundtrack to a fight, and you want a good soundtrack, right? And we all remember those great movie scores. Everyone loves the Star Wars soundtrack, so just got to be as good of a soundtrack to a fight as possible, basically.
I mean, you make it easier for yourself as well on the night, right? When you have a lot of information about the fighters. I mean, then and as commentator, you have to keep
going. I do it
going.
old school.
Oh, you do old school?
Old school.
That's
I have
perfect.
so many of these.
Bruce Buffer would be proud of you, man.
Yeah, well, I took some inspiration from that, because I know that he does so much handwritten stuff.
I do too, actually. If I really have to remember something specific, I always write it down as well. It just doesn't stick the same way on a computer. I don't know why, but
because you're making an effort to actually spell out every single word, and that's going to make it sit easier. So
exactly. how do you kind of balance honest critique with staying on good terms with fighters and promoters? Is that can that be hard sometimes?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have an exact method, but I always try to like see where somebody's coming from. Like if a fighter's getting completely dominated, but he took it on short notice, it's like,
Yeah.
how hard should I be?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, it can be like a stylistic thing. Like this guy is a great striker, but
Yeah.
his sprawl just isn't really there. So it's like, I think it's okay to like point out a hole in somebody's game. And
Yeah, you kind of have to, right?
yeah,
Sometimes, because people at home do not know these things, so it's kind of your job to do that. But I bet it's hard, right? Sometimes to find that fine line.
yeah, definitely. And I have had fighters who have have had an opinion about something I've said in commentary,
Yeah.
or something I've written. I'd say that 99 out of 100 times I stand by it. I'll be like, hey, it's not a personal thing. Like I have nothing against you. It's just, I thought that technique was really lacking, and I could see the holes in the grappling or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And for promoters, I mean, generally, I'm not talking as much about the production of a show unless it's like the lights are going off and it's like we can't see anything. Or but a lot of times promoters, they will just ask me afterwards, like, so what did you think about the show? And that's something that I really welcome and encourage for every promoter.
Yeah.
And it's something that I try to do as well for when I'm working with a promotion, just asking like, are you happy? Is there something you want done differently? Because honest, open communication like that is always going to lead to the best results. And I have given constructive criticism to the promotions who ask for it. Sometimes it's just like, nah, they're like too many decisions, but that's not your fault. It's just the luck of a draw, and or something like that. And otherwise, it's a great show. Or it could be something like, we had the time management wasn't very good, so we had no break between prelims and main card, meaning I had to run off during decision to make it to the bathroom and come back, meaning I missed part of the commentary for the walk-ins. And something like that, that'll just help them logistically going forward. So the way I say it also, honesty is like something that's earned. If you want my honesty, I'll give it to you. If not, we can be surface level, and that's fine. But I would prefer the honest route.
I agree. Sorry. With the media platform constantly changing, where do you see MMA journalism going in the next 5 years?
Man, you got good questions. You're good at this job. So I think we're going to see a smaller focus on written articles and stuff like that. So I think we're kind of already seeing that. If you look at like some of the bigger media channels on when it comes to MMA, it's like MMA Guru, who's like honestly terrible production. It's like an overexposed light in his face. He's sitting in a weird dark background, but his content is so good. He's so hilarious with what he's putting forward. It's like he doesn't need good production. He doesn't need a studio. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. A lot of people just making content out of their phones. I don't think that's ever gonna replace a solid, well put together video interview. But I do think we'll see an increase in some of the sort of basic style of MMA journalism, reporting, stuff like that. I mean, in general, written articles, written websites, not just MMA, but in most things, the readership's going down because people want the faster stuff. So I think that's I mean, there's still so many good news sites that will never go away. But I think they will start adapting, though.
I agree, because it's so rare that I actually go browse news on the internet, even though if it's MMA, it's just so rare, because you get all the information you need basically on reels and posts on Instagram. I'm having the founder of Full Violence. He's coming on the show as well, so I'm looking forward to talking to him about that as well, because that's his field as well.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to that episode.
Yeah, me too, man. Me too. What's the toughest fighter interview you ever done? Because I bet I know from myself that some fighters, doesn't always have a lot to say. Some do, but some don't,
Oh yeah, there's been a lot. I mean, a lot of people who kind of like gotten to know me over the past couple years know me much more from my commentary sides and the
Yeah.
broadcasting sides of things than like the reporting side, which was what I built my career on.
Yeah.
But I've interviewed so many UFC fighters, people from like, different cultures, backgrounds, and sometimes people are in a pretty bad mood but I mean, there's a couple that stand out. I remember I was in Houston.
Yeah.
It was for Gustafsson Cormier, and I interviewed Ali Bagautinov.
Okay.
And we had a translator because, I don't speak Russian.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked a question. He was facing Joseph Benavidez, and I was trying to like prop him up. I asked a question, something along the lines of, the UFC, they're giving you really tough competition. That probably means they see a lot in you. What do you think this level of competition says about your spot in the UFC? Something like that.
Good question.
The Russian guy or the translator takes it in Russian to Bagotinov, gives him an answer, and then the answer I get back is, "Are you saying that I'm weak?" I'm like,
okay.
no, that's like literally the opposite of what I'm saying. I
exactly.
am definitely not insulting a Chechnyan UFC fighter. And somehow that got lost in translation, and that wasn't too good.
Shit happens.
Yeah. Once also, I mean, staying on the Russian thing, I was in Moscow for UFC Moscow, and apparently Andrei Arlovsky had a very like insulting interview with like Russian TV the day before.
Okay.
Where like they were constantly playing him getting knocked out by Overeem or something like that in the background. So he got upset and stormed off.
Yeah.
And so then when we're doing the interviews at Media Day, we get forward and like, oh, hello. And he was like, which media are you? And I'm like, MMA Nit, like we're from Sweden and so on and so. And it's like, and he had a very contentious kind of like, who are you? Like, what are you? And I kind of understand his perspective. He just been kind of, lambasted by, in a pretty mean way. But for us, I was like, is this, are you okay with this media? And he's like, I don't respect all media. And I was like, oh man, this is a weird tone to start an interview with. Like,
how do we ease things up,
Yeah, like, oh man, I wish I could pull a one-liner out of my backpack just to, break the ice a little bit, because the tension was, yikes. I don't think that interview was very good either.
I could imagine. Do you have, on the other side, do you have any interviews where you remember back on and think, I just nailed that one,
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple that I very much enjoy. There's it's a lesser known one, but I did one with Melvin Guillard when he was fighting UFC London that I just felt just came together really well. One with Cub Swanson.
Yeah.
The one that I did with Michael Bisping too, which was one of my earliest interviews, that's still one of my favorites, because I think like it's in that interview where I started finding my style.
Okay.
So it's like if somebody watches that interview, you can kind of see that's where I start getting my way of putting things forward. And I mean, I know her very well on a personal level. So me and Pani Kianzad have had many good interviews as well. And I was happy with the interview I did with Conor McGregor before his Jose Aldo fight.
Oh, I did not know that. I did not know you did that. Okay, that's impressive, man.
And Khabib before he was Khabib. The Khabib whose name everybody could pronounce. Before it was a Khabib Nurmagomedov. Yeah, but now everyone knows his name. Back then, people didn't know how to pronounce
Khabib Abdulmanapovich.
I remember an article from MMA Junkie saying like, "Can we call him Normie?" Because Nurmagomedov.
He wouldn't be happy about that, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely not.
If you could commentate any dream matchup, past or present, which fight would that be, man?
Yeah, man.
That's a tough one, I know.
Yeah.
I'll give you time to think.
Ariel Danwani. Danewani.
Ariel Danwani.
Danewani, Danish Danwani. One fight that I just regularly watch just because it's so much fun is Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker.
Yeah, that's one you never forget.
if I'm like bored a Friday night, I'll just put that fight on.
Holy shit.
That's one that I think would be great. But the fact that this is in the Apex, I think would maybe make me a little self-conscious. So I'm gonna say it's cliche, but Alexander Gustafsson, John Jones won.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's a fight where I was in the audience for that one, and the atmosphere was just crazy. And if I could commentate it then with like the knowledge and experience I have now, I really feel like I could
nail
set
that
the
one.
tone really well. You know, coming with some extra info about Gustafsson's boxing career and stuff like that.
Wow, that was a great fight as well, man. Both fights were right. They had two, right?
The second one was not that great, but the first one, I mean, legendary. And seeing it live, I was sitting like 2 seats away from Gustafsson's mother. It was wild. It was really wild. And also, like the day before, I had accidentally spilled coffee on John Jones' wife, and I was so scared he was,
Oh shit! Yeah, that's not a good thing, you know.
I didn't get that interview, that's for sure.
Yeah. But we just talked about you watching those fights live. What's the most memorable fight you had? It's probably one of those. I don't know. Maybe another one.
I mean, that one's really nuts. That's one where, I was so glad that I was sitting in like not the media seats, because for those who don't know, if you're covering the UFC as media and you're sitting in the media section, you're not allowed to cheer. You're not even allowed to like clap.
No.
Which is like, sometimes, it'll be a great transition and I'm like, oh, just on instinct, like, oh wow, that was a gorgeous, transition. And like, someone will come like, stop clapping. I'm like, oh, I'm not cheering. It's a technique. And it doesn't matter. I'm like, okay, sorry. Which is fine. I mean, I understand it, because you don't want media to seem like they're cheering when it's supposed to be neutral. So it makes sense. But, it's hard to get that fan heart out of your chest when you're watching a good fight.
Yeah. I cheer myself as well when I'm watching fights, and
it's hard.
It's so hard not to, and I know the fighters often, fighting, so that makes it even.
I mean, how do you just turn off your personal feelings during the fight? It's like you can't do it. So.
I can't do it.
Also, to add to that, Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal, also one of the craziest fights live. The atmosphere in New York was just insane.
That was a good fight. How did that end? How did that end? How did that fight end? I know Masvidal won, but
it was a doctor stoppage. Oh yeah, I know Nate Diaz wouldn't have cared about. I know he wanted to go to the fourth round.
Of course he would, but he has so much scar tissue in his face. That guy, everybody opens that guy up.
You sneeze in his direction, he'll start bleeding. So
yeah, exactly. At least you don't see that often anymore. Fighters blowing their nose if they have bloody nose and their eyes popping up.
Yeah. I guess we had to sacrifice one Donald Cerrone for that to happen.
Yeah, exactly. That was the wildest one. Holy shit, man.
Oh, you think an experienced veteran like him would know not to do that? But
yeah, exactly.
That's why we have to sacrifice him. And since then, I haven't seen it. So
yeah, but I bet sometimes when you're in it, you don't really think, and you just. Yeah, I don't know. It happens, I bet. If you had unlimited resources for a project in MMA media, what would you create, do you think? What would be do you kind of have a dream you kind of want to outlive in any kind of way?
I would be interested in I've always been like a fan of talk shows, like, Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno was, the first one that I grew up with. I've always liked that kind of stuff. And I've always loved the idea of like an MMA talk show kind of thing with like sketches and games and stuff like that.
Challenges maybe even.
Yeah. I mean, I'd kind of like on an extremely like $2 budget in a basement of a clothing store here in Malmo. Me and a friend of mine, Omar, we had this thing called Nachos and MMA, which was like as close. I mean, it was so basic, but it's like the closest that we got, where we would have like a guest and we would do like have these different skits. Like if it's a person from Stockholm, it's like, okay, now you have to try and figure out this southern Skåne and Malmö slang, and we'd always have like nachos and a new type of salsa that we would try, and this that was a lot of fun when we did it, for all of the 27 views that we would get, but it was so much fun. And I could just imagine something like that with a budget, with bigger fighters, with like sketches that you can actually like put money into, or games that you can actually put like a budget on. I think it would be a lot of fun, and I like this. I would think it'd be fun to play kind of like uh, a little bit of a character with a host as well.
Mm-hmm.
Being a little snarky, a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
sarcastic. Yeah, that would
yeah,
be my dream.
yeah. Sounds like a good dream, man. Is that kind of where you want to go at some point? Do you kind of want to have your own show at some point? Maybe do something like that, or where do you want to be? Do you have a goal? That's probably the question I'm asking.
Man, I feel like I've been asking that question to myself for a while.
Yeah.
Like, it's been such a crazy ride because there's so much last minute stuff.
Mm.
Like a couple of weeks ago, short notice. Can you be in Hungary in 2 days for an
Yeah.
event? And uh, or like during, I was like one of a few people that kind of benefited off of COVID because like that meant American commentators couldn't make it to Europe, which is where I got in on all the Brave
Ah.
fights. And then it'd
Yeah.
be like I was having dinner and like I got a call like, "Can you be in Romania tomorrow?" I was like, "Get me the tickets, baby." So it's like
Yeah.
it's been such a like doing it as it comes and like just kind of being in the moment that I hadn't thought much more about it ever. And like I just want to do better and better every single time. I mean, I guess at some point, having like the John Gooden role in the
Mm.
UFC, like being like a European correspondent, I guess that would definitely be a big dream of mine, to actually work with the UFC in any
Yeah.
capacity like that. That's obviously a big one.
I
But
think you will get there, man. I
oh,
really do.
I hope so.
Hashtag Dana White. Let's go.
Get it going, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that'd definitely be something. At some point, it would be awesome to have like I've always wanted to like have my own promotion,
Okay.
like in Malmö, focus more on amateurs, just because
Yeah.
I've been given so much, love and support, like from everyone. I mean, from the Danish scene as well, but specifically like the Southern Malmo scene. It's always been so close to my heart. So it'd be awesome to like have a show that's it's not necessarily we're not trying to become millionaires on it. It's more about giving young local fighters experience and kind of
Yeah.
giving back to the MMA community. That's something that I would really love to do someday too. But
Yeah.
making events is expensive and that shit's hard, so it'll
Exactly.
probably take a while.
Yeah. Let's say that you got a call tomorrow from Dana White asking you to come cover, let's say, 10 shows in the next 4 months, 6 months, and you had to move to the States. How far would you react on that? What would you do?
Hold my Modelo.
Yeah.
I'm on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh 4 6 months I could easily do that. I mean, yeah. I'm sure my fiance would have a little something to say about it.
Yeah, I know.
uh, but yeah, I
Probably.
mean, 4 to 6 months, absolutely, I could easily do that, especially in the US.
Yeah.
Um, I
Do you
mean,
think
I've gotten to
you're
the position that I have because I've been willing to take
yeah,
short notice stuff. I mean,
yeah.
some stereotypes are true. Maybe the Mexicans are stealing all the jobs, and this guy's stealing all the commentary jobs. So
No more Mexicans getting into.
yeah, but all he needed was one in Scandinavia, and he took all the jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They took our jobs, as they say. Do you think your fiance would mind moving with you if that was the case at some point to the States?
Yeah, 4 to 6 months.
No,
Yeah,
let's
I
say
mean,
permanently. Let's say
permanently.
permanently.
I don't know if we want to live permanently in the U.S.
That's true. That's true.
It's I like being alive too much.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and also the U.S. is getting kind of scarier and scarier. Like
Yeah.
just seems like so many more people are going without health care, and
Mm-hmm.
cost of living is crazy, and you lose your job, you'll just be homeless like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, you're right. We have it good here in Scandinavia, right? I mean,
no natural disasters.
yeah.
Like, I mean, Jesus Christ, like the LA fires were 10
Oh yeah.
kilometers from my mom's house.
Oh
So
really?
it's like we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we
We're
also
so
don't have to
lucky.
worry about crackheads breaking into our
True that.
homes with machetes or anything. It's like,
True that.
or mountain lions snatching up toddlers, which is something that's happened in my
Yeah.
area in Los Angeles. An actual mountain lion snatched up a child.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't have to worry about dangerous animals or natural disasters. So I think, especially raising a kid, that's definitely going to happen in Sweden or Scandinavia.
Yeah. 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 It's probably the best just to go back and forth a bit, and keep it on that level.
Yeah, a solid home base, but with plenty of movement to and from it. That's kind of like it's basically
Yeah,
what I do now. But doing that to a greater extent, I got no problem with that.
yeah. Do you kind of have a favorite place in the States you like to go to, or?
Hmm. Definitely not Las Vegas.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, I did like Houston a lot.
Mm.
I gotta say, I had a lot of
That's Texas, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I had a lot of prejudice about what that place would be like, but let me tell you, it was the complete opposite of what I expected. I expected very conservative, red state kind of,
Yeah.
we don't appreciate your kind around here type. But
Yeah.
no, like I've never seen that many like Muslim women with a hijab in any
Okay.
city in the U.S. before. Their mayor was like an open lesbian woman. It was and we had a great time out. It was like a lot more multicultural and like the vibes were just great. So I
Yeah.
actually really liked Houston. I'm so glad that like any negative perception that I had was completely erased. Then I talked to some people there and they said like, oh well, you go outside of the major cities and maybe it's not quite as welcoming an atmosphere to certain people, but
Mm.
regardless, I really like Houston and I'd like to go back for it, but not during the summer because it was way too hot.
Oh, I bet, man. I bet, especially for a guy like me. I mean,
Dude, yeah, you'd skin be just as red as your hair.
yeah, I bet. I think so. um, you were at the Dominance. You've been at all Air Tuck Dominance Fighting Championship events, right? Right?
Yeah,
How do you
absolutely.
kind of feel like it from where it began to where it is now? Is there a big difference? Do you think?
100%,
No.
especially between the second and third show was a big leap made in production.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that the first show had bad production at any stretch of the imagination. I've been to many shows that have had several events that haven't been as impressive at the first one as Dominance was.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean the development now between the second and third, just the lighting, the overall production, the ref cam, the instant replays. There's
Yeah.
so many things that like having out at a third show, making all those developments. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of shows that have done like 25 events that haven't even started picking those things up.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really really impressive.
Do you think that?
Um,
Do you think that like Atox and Margot Madsen kind of push other organizations to up their game as well, and not only here in Denmark but also Sweden and Finland? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the way that it works. I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I feel like, good competition is good for everybody
Mm.
because that forces everybody to, like you said, step up for game.
Yeah.
And the better that the standard is in, Denmark, Sweden, Scandinavia, the
Yeah.
better everything going forward will be as well. I mean, we already have, a good I mean, like Scandinavian MMA is, in my opinion, way better than like German MMA. They have
Yeah.
10 times, Sweden's population. We're like, what, 100 million people. I've been to GMC, man, but believe me, Scandinavian shows are better.
Yeah.
Like, so I think we're doing a great job in that sense. And I think that, Mark should just keep on pushing the way that he is.
Yeah.
And
He's a beast.
because everybody needs something to aspire to.
Yeah.
So the more impressive that aspiration is, the farther we're going to go when trying to achieve it.
Mm. Yeah. I agree, man. I agree. Sebastian, thank you so much for coming, man. It's been a pleasure to talk to you again, and I hope that we will see each other soon. I know that there is an Airtux Dominance FC event in 2 months, about 2 months, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we will see each other there, I'm sure of it, man.
Absolutely.
Everybody follow Sebastian on Instagram, and I don't know, do you do TikTok? You don't, right?
I don't. I'm allergic to that. I'm too old for it, man.
I
I'm way too old for that.
I was too until I started this. I was just, yeah.
Just with flow in TikTok, it's like I'm stepping into traffic in India. It's like it's
Yeah,
like I have to
you're
jump
exactly
my
right, man.
profile page just to breathe. Like no, it's
Yeah.
not my jam.
Yeah, I mean, I only use it to post on. I never, scroll on that shit because it doesn't fit with me personally. But yeah, do you have anything to say? You kind of do you have any maybe even advice for up and coming fighters? Because in this day and age, there's a lot of need in being a public figure when you're a fighter. If you want to get somewhere, and that's just keep getting more and more intense, I think. Do you have any advice for people coming up as fighters, or even journalists as yourself?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, for fighters, embrace. I mean, I just admitted to being a dinosaur with TikTok, but these fighters are most of the times younger than me, so
Yeah.
you got to embrace your brand. At the end of the day, who you are as a fighter, that is a brand that you need to push. And it's not for everybody. I get that. Not everybody needs to make 100 TikToks a day, but having something that keeps your name relevant, both for promoters, sponsors, fans, all that, it's so important.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to be fake about it, but, if you need somebody to help you out with like an Instagram account, do it, because it is worth it. Having a strong brand is going to get you so much further in today's day and age.
Yeah.
And, don't try to find a sweet spot with amateur. Don't stay in it too long. You don't want to make your pro debut when you're 30, or I mean, you can if you want to. Everyone's got different goals, but you want to go really far, make your pro debut a little bit earlier. But also don't make it too early. You need that experience. So find the sweet spot. It's going to be different for every fighter, but find the sweet spot for going over to pro.
Yeah.
And don't smack talk promoters. Try to be in on good relations. I've seen some fighters like they've had the like third pro fight and they're like, oh fuck this and that. And it's like, oh dude, you are not Conor McGregor. Tone it down. All you're doing is burning bridges right now. And maybe that promotion is connected to a sponsor that's not going to want to touch you now. So don't burn bridges. Try to have good relations with everybody. And for people in media and stuff like that, be careful. Everyone wants to follow their dream, and you should, but do it in a smart way. Like somebody who's trying to get to the moon, they're gonna do all the proper work to get there. We're not just gonna get in one of those Looney Tunes slingshots and try to shoot up right away. I've seen many like media things come and go because they're trying too hard and we don't have anything on the side. Like you've got to have a stable job on the side to support you while you're doing all that. And just make the leap organically. Like, be sure that you can always keep the fan inside you alive, because the more that you do it, the more it feels like proper work. But if the fan in you is still alive, then that work is going to be enjoyable. I mean, I always quote Cypress Hill when it comes to these things. It's a fun job, but it's still a job. So you got to treat it like a job, but also like a fan doing that job.
Yeah. That's good advice, Sebastian. Sebastian Vendel Martinez, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming, man. Talk to you soon.
A pleasure.